call. So let's dive in. All right. So call title, why are we inconsistent? Okay. Why are we inconsistent? And so first we have to identify, what does it mean to be inconsistent? Identify the reason why we're inconsistent in the first place, because everybody has a different meaning of like what inconsistent means for them. But I'm going to give you a very simple outlook. Okay. If you're taking notes, get ready. I want to ask you this question. What's the difference between those that are consistent and those that are inconsistent? In other words, what's the difference between those that are successful and those that are unsuccessful? What's the difference? Think about it. Okay. They both have the same goals. Everybody has pretty much the same goals to some degree. They want to make more money. They want to, have good health. They want to increase their income. They want a better, way of living. I mean, the list goes on. Everybody has very similar goals. But what's the difference between the two? What's the difference between a winner and a loser? What separates them are the activities that they commit themselves to. What separates them are the activities that they commit themselves to. The goal, this is really important because I know last week we touched on how to properly set goals. Hopefully you guys went through that list. You wrote down the goals. I want to really dive into this because I think there's a huge misconception behind how we view goals, how we view ourselves, and what we think is possible. And I want to just nail this in the head right now. The goal, okay? The goals that you set for yourself is the actual commitment to the activity. The goal that you set for yourself is the actual commitment to the activity, okay? So the way that we have been probably perceiving goals is some tangible thing, some outcome. It's some physical result, okay? The goal is the commitment to the activity. What's the activity? The activity could be prospecting. The activity could be watching go live. The activity could be following up. In this case, I'm looking at income producing activities, but you get my point, okay? The goal is the commitment to the activity. You're like, Abby, you keep saying that. I want to reinforce this in your head to recognize the goal is not the outcome. The goal is not the outcome. And the reason why we get ourselves so worked up, we fall off, we're inconsistent, and I'm going to talk about it right now, but half the time we keep looking at our goals as an outcome, okay, and not as the actual commitment. It's the commitment moment to moment of the activity, okay? For example, this is a great example. Let's say you make a lot of money in 1 month, which I've had that happen multiple times over, where my months are pretty stable, pretty consistent, and then I'll have 1 month where it's just like, oh, you made a lot more money than you did before. And that's not like you. That's not who you are. That's not innate to you. You kind of don't feel deserving of that. It feels a little off. Okay. And most people don't know what to do with that money in the first place. Obviously we do, but at the same time, we don't feel like we deserve that. And so what happens, okay, when you make a lot of money, let's say in 1 month, you've actually achieved nothing. And I'm going to give you guys the connection here, because a lot of people are like on their high horse. They're like, I made all this money. This is just an example. But they don't realize that that was an outcome. That was an outcome. Okay. You haven't actually achieved anything, because the goal is the activity. It's not the outcome. It's not the result. And I hope at the end of this call, this empowers you and it encourages you to look at the goals that you set for yourself differently and how you set goals, and give you kind of a roadmap and a perspective of how to lead yourself, how to coach yourself. Okay. So instead of writing down outcomes that you would like as your goals, write this down. Write down what would the leader that you value, that I value and respect, do right now. This is what's gonna separate you from the unsuccessful to the successful, to the inconsistent to the consistent. Okay. Write down what would the leader that I value and respect do right now in this moment. Okay. The outcomes itself will happen as a result of the main internal identity shift happening. So there's an identity crisis. I kind of made a post on it the other day, but there's an identity crisis that's happening when you say you're going to do something and then you don't, and then you repeatedly do that, that happens over time. And then you start to, what happens? You start to not trust yourself. You start to doubt yourself. You start to not believe in yourself. Okay. So we need to make this, shift in who we are and how we see ourselves, this identity in who we are. But that will happen. The doing and the outcomes that you're wanting will happen as a result of the main like identity shift happening. So you can do this. Here's my big thing. Here's how you can do this. You can reinforce many times every day, over and over, from moment to moment, by asking yourself that question. What would the leader that I value, that I respect, I'm just giving you an example, do right now? So you can reinforce this many times over every single day when you're at a crossroad, when you're at that point of like, should I do this? Should I follow through on that activity, which is the goal in the first place, is the commitment to the goal, or should I go and do XYZ? Okay. Commitment to what you said you were going to do is what gives you the belief and the evidence that you actually deserve what you want in the first place. Commitment to what you said you were going to do is what gives you the belief and the evidence that you actually deserve what you want in the first place. So good, so good. So I'm hoping that this is like recalibrating some things for you right now, because your commitment is what matters. Okay. How you see yourself is what matters. And if you don't see yourself in the right light, in the right way right now, you need to start to look at another model, another example to reinforce the right habits, to reinforce the belief, to reinforce the evidence for yourself that you actually deserve what you want. So when you make a lot of money in a month, you know it didn't just happen. Oh, I don't like, this feels weird. That didn't happen before. That was a buildup. That was not a surprise. Okay. We find ourselves inconsistent. We find ourselves falling off so much because we haven't built this undeniable proof that we are who we say we are. We haven't built this undeniable proof that we are who we say we are, because over time we keep falling off. We keep being inconsistent. We're making the wrong things the priority. And so this is really important. So the data that we're collecting is still reinforcing the same old person that we've always been. So we're not collecting the right data. We haven't built this undeniable, unshakable proof that we are who we say we want to be, that we are who we say we are. We're making the wrong things the priority. And so we're collecting data that's reinforcing that same old person we've always been. And it's no wonder that we still don't believe in ourselves. It's no wonder we still don't trust ourselves. It's no wonder we keep falling off. We keep being inconsistent. We keep having this same self-narrative, self-talk about ourselves. You haven't built any proof. You don't have any evidence. You haven't shown yourself anything. I'm not saying you directly on this call, but if it applies to you, I hope it sticks. I hope this is something that you can walk away with and say, look, I'm going to focus on the commitment to the activity, which is the goal. Not the outcome, not the result, not the tangible, not the physical. That will come when you make that identity shift in yourself. And you have to model off of somebody, something, someone that you look up to, that you value, that you respect. And ask yourself, what would this person do right now? What would that leader? I think about, I look up to Jason Brown. I love the way that he just carries himself, his heart, his attitude, his willingness, his spirit. I love how Jason does things. And so I think about, what would Jason do? And it's very simple. Like, you're like, Abby, it's kind of makes sense. Like, I know that. Well, we don't know if we're not applying it, obviously, but it's the things that obviously, what was I going to say? This is really important, this note. It's going to go away. I'll come back to it. But anyways, my point of saying this is we don't believe ourselves. We don't trust ourselves. So what we do is we quit or we stop prematurely. And we just find ourselves back in this vicious cycle. And so I want you guys to shift your perspective. We've become so fixated on hitting a goal, AKA the outcome, that we're doing things to just achieve a finite result and not doing things because it's who we actually are. We've become so fixated on hitting a goal, the outcome, okay, that we're doing things to only achieve a finite result finite means it's not going to last. It's fleeting. It'll one day go away, or it could go away. Okay. And not because it's who we actually are. So I want you guys to change your hearts. I want you guys to change your focus. Everything that we've talked about so far can start to reinforce that change, that shift. And I want you to ask yourself, what is your reason for doing these things anyways? What is your reason for doing those activities? Because you have, I'm hoping from last week, you wrote down the things that, you want to be your activity-based goals. Okay. The things that you can control, the things that you can commit to. I can't commit to an outcome because I can't control the outcome. I can only control the activity. And if you can focus on the things that you can control, that will build your confidence. We don't have confidence in ourselves because we haven't built enough data. Okay. What is your reason for doing these things anyways? Is your perspective and focus around achieving an outcome? Because now what happens is after you hit that outcome-based goal, a month, a week later, you lose that goal. Let's say, for example, you lose the goal because you were only trying to have the goal and you weren't focused on being the person and doing the activities as a reinforcement of who you are or building to become, who you're building yourself to become. Okay. So you're focused on the outcome, which we're focused on an outcome, but what happens is this person that we're focused on is not deserving of the goal in the first place. You're focused on the outcome and not of who is that person that's deserving of the goal and how would they handle the things that I'm going through. As the things that you're going through your day to day that you're experiencing, how would the person that I'm working to be handle this? It's not easy. It's hard. You're going to go through stuff and you're like, damn, I want to go back to my old, ratchet ways or whatever. You guys get my point, right? But you got to look to that higher self. And I know this is stuff we've already heard. And you're like, Abby, I've heard this before, but like, what are we doing? Okay. The commitment to the goal, the commitment to the activity-based goal, the commitment to the activity is the goal. It's not the outcome. So if you could take anything away from this call, it's the fact that the commitment is the goal to the activity. That's it. And if you just focus on that little bit and make that your reinforcement, I promise you it's going to take you a lot further, not just in what you achieve and what you can have for yourself as a result, but who you're becoming in the process. Because at the end of the day, when you actually hit that goal and you've built yourself to become that person, when you hit it, it's not going to be a surprise. You're going to know how to handle the lows. You're going to know how to handle the highs, which is almost as equally as important as the lows, because now your ego is being filled. And how are you going to handle that? You're going to be able to handle every season that you walk through. That's kind of like what they say, when you're going through things and you're just putting it off because it's not the right time, doesn't matter. Like time is so irrelevant. It's, if I can do things in a bad season, damn well I'm going to be able to do them in a good season. It's just reinforcing the right commitment to the activity. That's the goal. So guys, today's a more shorter call. I know we kind of have extended our calls sometimes, but today my message was very clear. I hope that you guys got what you needed from that word and you can go out and apply. I'm going to introduce you guys to, I heard Jessie Lee, if you guys know who I'm talking about, she speaks on this on her podcast, on her channel, on her social media. She talks about giving assignments a lot. And I've heard her say that, but I never really have started doing that. And I was like, maybe if I, want to be a type of person like Jessie Lee, I should probably start to implement this for myself. And then also for, our team, for you guys. And so I want to introduce this concept to you and how we can maybe walk through this together, because I want to start giving these assignments on every call that we do. And it's not to give you more work or homework or whatever. It's to reinforce these right habits and behaviors and perspective and how to focus on things. And so we want to be able to do a performance review of ourselves over time. Okay. And what I mean by that is you have to give yourself enough data, enough proof, like I said, enough evidence to show what have I been doing, okay, over time. And so we can reflect, we can review what we've been actually doing versus what we have not been doing. And a great way that I can give you this as an example to just kind of prepare you to receive these assignments is this review, okay? As you kind of have a review on yourself, the assignment is not a review. I'm just kind of prefacing this. The review will show you how good of a steward you've been, okay? If you look back on the things that you've done or haven't done, that review will show you how good of a steward you've been or not, okay? And what I mean by steward of what you've been given, or sorry, what I mean by steward is what you've been given, or what do you have right now that you are able to use or multiply to steward, okay? For example, I have a team that I can steward. How can I help? How can I multiply? How can I pour in? Okay. I have an opportunity to lead and provide value for Mike's team. Let's say I get asked to speak on a call. All this stuff, guys, applies to you. You have access to an organization, to a network within, our team, within Mike Sotero's team. And honestly, the way I even look at it is for the company. I think about how can I add value? How can I lead an example for the company? I see so many people, if you guys are in the I Am Elite page or on Facebook or the Instagram page that they have, like people stepping up out of nowhere, and they're not even ranked. They're just they're just on fire for what we've got, and they know who they're becoming, and they're just wanting to step up and serve. And it doesn't need to be in this major gigantic way. It can be in little ways. And what you guys don't realize, and this is just a really small example, but it goes a long way, is engaging with a post. If I'm Academy makes a post, I'm liking it, and I'm going to make a comment if I remember to, but I'm going to make a comment, because that will help obviously boost their engagement and show support for the thing that I'm on fire about. That's just one example. We all have access to the Discord and the Facebook page where we can also add value. How many of us are taking advantage of that and adding value? That's something that you have. That's something that you could steward well. We have access to these calls. How do you take advantage leaving these calls with the information, with the guidance, with the plan that's being given? How do you steward the info that you're having access to? We have access to go live. We have access to the weekly calls. How often are we showing up to go live? How often are we applying the things that we learn on go live and providing value back to people? The weekly call, same thing. How often are we showing up and making sure we're on that call? I know we can't make every single call. There's a lot of calls throughout the week, but let's say you chose, 2 calls every single week because we're serious about leading. We're serious about, building this business. We could show up to, 2 calls throughout the week. I think they do like four or 5 calls that they have Sunday through Thursday. You show up to 2 calls, make sure you're on there, make sure you're engaged. How can you steward that well? You have access to, your platform on social media. What are you using? What are you doing with your platform? Okay. You may even have a job. Are you grateful for your job? How are you stewarding the money that you've been given from your job? How are you stewarding the money well that maybe you're earning from the platform, from the academy, from the skills that you've been given the opportunity to grow in? Okay. Bottom line, what do I need to change about how I'm stewarding what I oversee, what I have access to? If you want to oversee more, you have to ask yourself, how well have I been stewarding what I currently have? If you want to be able to oversee more, if you want to be able to have more responsibility and be able to be given more so that you can multiply more, ask yourself, how well have I been stewarding what I've already been given? Okay. If you show that you can do something with what you've already been given, I'm going to give you more. AKA Abby, if you take the assignment that I'm going to give you right after this call and you show week after week, look at what I'm doing, look at what I'm look at what I'm building, look at what I'm multiplying. Okay. Look at what I'm reinforcing. I'm going to look at you to give you more. Same thing with Mike. Mike looks at, his team that way. And I know that I'm constantly trying to be visible. I'm not just like for the sake of, oh God, Mike call on me, but for the sake of Abby wants to be better. Abby wants to grow in my full version, my full capacity. And I have that hunger. I have that heart. Like I'm on fire for that. Okay. And if you're unsure, you're maybe stuck or you need help. And I think being stuck is just a perspective shift. That's it. And if you're still stuck and you think that you've gotten the perspective shift, you haven't yet. Okay. And honestly, it probably has a lot more to do with the things that we talked about on this call, what you're focused on and your perspective and your personal development. What does your personal development regime look like? I'm not going to go into that right now, but if you're in that place right now where you're unsure, you need a new perspective or you need help, it's okay. But you got to reach out and ask for feedback And I'll say this, and I know this may be a little harsh, but it's true. Only, and I did not say this. I forget who said it. I think it was John Melton or Ray Higdon or somebody, but only insecure people don't ask for feedback. Only insecure people, because they don't want to own up to the truth. They don't want to own up to the things that are, maybe an embarrassment or shameful or whatever's going on in their head. Okay. Only insecure people don't ask for feedback. When I realized that, I realized, well, Abby, you have a lot you've got to work on. And the only way that you're going to really grow is if you get outside of yourself. Like Kobe Bryant says, get over yourself. Okay. I just always think about that. Get over yourself, Abby. Like, you're not as special, you're not as important as you think. I mean, we are obviously in a God sense, but in this, like, no, get over yourself. Okay. All right. So the assignment for you guys, this is about becoming, as we talked about, an effective, dependable, fulfilled leader, productive leader. So the things that I may give you is only to build you during both the good and the bad times. So if you're given these assignments and you're going through bullshit in your life right now, do it. It's going to reinforce the person that you want to be, not the person that you've always been. Okay. Not just for doing, like, I'm not giving you this just for the sake of doing it. So be intentional with it, because it's determining who you're becoming. Okay. So 2 things: write down your income producing activities. Okay. It's the activity based goals. It's the commitment to the activity. That's what I'm referring to. Okay. Write down your income producing activities. And these are goals that you're committed to. Okay. And then the other thing is make at least 2 of your income producing activities to prospect X number of people every day. You can write down the number of people, or what you can do is you can set a timer. I've been setting a timer and I end up actually exceeding the number that I had in my head of how many people I wanted to talk to that day. Okay. And as you get better at doing these things, like, your numbers are going to increase. You're going to start to filter through what works, what doesn't work. Okay. And ask questions. So make at least 2 of them to prospect, either set a timer or set a number daily, and to post in the Facebook page 1 to 2 times a week. Okay. Post in the Facebook page 1 to 2 times a week. That's it. And then add your other goals. I have health-based goals on there that I'm committed to. I read my Bible. Like, I have those types of goals as well. I just want to give you these 2 for the sake of, like, why are we here in the first place on these calls? Okay. So I'm going to leave you guys with this, just to keep this in the back of your head. Do not forget why we're here. Be intentional. The next focus group will start on January 21st, 2023. Okay. And the draft for that is always on. It's always on watch. The draft for the next focus group, for every focus group, is always on. Okay. I'm always looking. I'm always watching, not like look like that. It's just like I'm seeing who's visible, who's doing shit. Okay. It's not just about achieving outcomes, but actually following through. It's not about a rank, it's not about a position, not about a title. It's who's following through, who's keeping their word, who's showing up. Are you who you say you are? Okay. You can increase your likelihood of being chosen for the next focus group by following through, by doing the trench work, by showing up. And to keep it simple, what are the things that the leader you highly value and respect would be doing? Okay. So guys, that is the call. I appreciate you. Take this information to heart, go out and apply it. I wish you guys a great week. Reach out. I'm going to be doing check-in calls with the team moving into the new year. So if I reach out to you, let's get a game plan going. Let's get a call set up. So I know schedules are going to start to get busy these next couple of weeks, but I love you guys. I appreciate you. And we will talk to y'all later. Peace.